The crowd inside the great arena was louder than thunder. Thousands of alien voices filled the air with shouts, hisses, and strange sounds. The center stood a human, alone, unarmed, and covered in dirt and bruises. His name was Commander Jace Wren, once a decorated soldier from Earth, now a prisoner of the Serpentari Empire. The Serpentari were a proud reptilian species, taller and stronger than humans. Their scales shimmered with color, and their golden eyes could see through lies. They ruled this corner of the galaxy with strict rules, ancient honor, and brutal traditions. Jace looked up at the stone pillars surrounding him. Serpentari warriors stood on every level, watching. The highest seat, the throne of command, was where General Threxia sat, the greatest warrior of her kind. She was known for winning every battle, every duel, and showing no mercy. The arena ground trembled as she walked toward him. Her long tail slid behind her like a whip. In her hand was her famous weapon, the venom fang knife. One small cut, and the poison would freeze the blood. No human had ever survived it. Jace stood tall, hiding his pain. His uniform was torn. His hands were tied behind his back with energy cuffs. But his eyes, blue and sharp, still held fire. Threxia stopped. A few steps in front of him, the crowd went silent. Only her voice echoed now. "Any last words, human?" she hissed, pointing the venomous blade toward his heart. Jace didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. "Yeah," he said calmly. "Hope you've studied Earth history." "We're not good at dying quietly." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some Serpentari narrowed their eyes. Others scoffed. To them, Jace's smile was foolish, a weak species pretending to be strong. But Threxia paused. She had fought many enemies, but very few smiled before a fight. Suddenly, a loud voice rang across the arena. "Begin the trial by duel." Cuffs on Jace's hands clicked open. He rubbed his wrists, stepped back, and prepared for the fight. Threxia raised her blade and circled him like a predator. Jace remembered his training. Not just in combat, but in alien behavior. He knew that. Threxia wouldn't strike right away. The Serpentari believed in testing their prey, learning weaknesses before ending the fight. Jace had one advantage. He studied her people for years. He moved slowly, using the soft dust of the arena to slide, dodge, and stay just out of reach. Every time she lunged, he stepped aside. Every time she hissed, he smiled wider. "Why do you smile?" she growled, swinging her knife close to his neck. "Because you don't understand humans," Jace replied. "And that's always your mistake." The duel wasn't just about strength. It was about honor, about proving who was truly in control. Jace wasn't going to win by force. He had another plan. From the shadows above the arena, Kailani, a Serpentari scientist and secret ally of Jace, watched closely. She had been part of the rebellion growing inside the Empire. She believed in change. She believed in peace. Kalani tapped a small device on her wrist, activating a signal in Jace's ear. Only he could hear her voice. "The arena's west. Wall has a weak energy point," she whispered. "If you can get her near it, I'll trigger the trap." Jace didn't respond. He only nodded slightly, enough for Kalani to know he understood. He began to move toward the west side, pretending to be tired. Threxia chased him, her blade slicing the air. Her speed was terrifying, but Jace kept dodging. "Barely. You are weak," she shouted. "You delay the end, but it is still coming." "Maybe," Jace said, reaching the wall, "but not for me." With perfect timing, Kailani triggered the trap. A small blast of light exploded near Threxia's feet, making her stumble. Dust flew up. The crowd gasped. Jace didn't attack. Instead, he stepped back and raised his hands.
"Oh!"
"This isn't about the duel," he shouted to the crowd. "This is about the truth. Your leaders hide behind tradition to silence anyone who dares to speak." The guards looked confused. Even Threxia stood still, blinking. She had expected a fight, not words. "The Conclave has lied to you," Jace shouted again. "They fear what humanity can become, not because we are dangerous, but because we are different. We don't follow orders. We ask questions." That makes us a threat. Silence. The kind of silence that meant the words were sinking in. Threxia slowly raised her knife again. Her expression was unreadable. Are you finished, human? Jace met her eyes. Not yet. But if I die, remember this. You didn't beat me. Just proved I was right. The blade stopped inches from his chest. Her hand trembled just a little. For the first time in her life, Threxia hesitated. The dust in the arena was still settling when General Threxia lowered her knife slightly. Her golden eyes watched the human carefully. Stood there, hands at his side, no weapon, no armor, but full of courage. This was not what she had expected. All around them, the Serpentari crowd was silent. Warriors who once cheered for blood were now unsure. Jace Wren had changed the mood with just a few words. Threxia finally spoke, her voice calm but sharp. You are clever with words, but words do not win battles. Jace gave a half smile. Maybe not. But sometimes, words stop battles from happening. She studied him. You could have attacked me when the dust exploded. Why didn't you? He shrugged, because winning isn't always about striking first. Threxia narrowed her eyes. You humans confuse me? Jace stepped back and raised his hands peacefully. That's our strength. You don't know what we'll do next. Above them, hidden behind shadows, Kailani watched with hope. He had seen enough. Her fingers moved quickly across her device, sending a coded signal to her allies. The plan was working. Meanwhile, in the high chambers of the arena, leaders of the Serpentari sat behind crystal walls, watching the duel unfold. They whispered among themselves. The human delays. He is buying time. He speaks against our laws. Shall we end the trial? But the High Warlord, the oldest among them, raised a hand. Let this play out. Let us see what happens. When a human faces truth with words, not war. Back in the arena, Threxia began to circle Jace again. The crowd watched silently. So, what is your plan now, human? She asked. Jace's single quotes, his eyes didn't leave her blade to survive. Don't make. You think, and maybe, just maybe, to plant a seed, she tilted her head. A seed. He nodded, of doubt, of change, of the idea that maybe, just maybe, humans aren't your enemy. We're just different. Threxia paused. Her hand tightened around the venom knife. Was trained to follow the laws, to fight with honor, to end those who stand against the conclave. Jace nodded, and I was trained to survive, to think. We fight for order. We fight for freedom. She didn't strike. Not yet. Instead, she asked a question one no one expected. Have you ever lost everything human? Jace's face changed. The smile faded slightly. His voice dropped. I lost my brother on Europa, my best friend on Mars, and my entire unit during the siege of Titan. Yes, I've lost more than I can count. There was silence again. Even Kailani felt the weight of his words. Threxia looked at her blade. I lost my hatchmate during the moon uprising. He was curious like you. He questioned orders. He admired humans. Died trying to protect one. Her voice was almost soft. I called him a fool. I believed he was wrong. Jace took a step closer, careful not to provoke. Maybe he was just early. Threxia looked up, eyes meeting his. You speak well, human. ... But words do not erase the past. No. Jace agreed. But they can build the future. From above, Kailani sent another signal. A large screen behind the arena lit up, showing secret data, proof that the Conclave had used the Serpentori as enforcers, forcing them into wars that were never theirs. The crowd gasped. Images flashed, maps of hidden battlefields, orders, signed by Conclave leaders, messages showing that Threxia herself had been sent to destroy peaceful colonies. Guards looked at each other. Some lowered their weapons. Threxia turned toward the screen, her face unreadable. Then slowly she turned back to Jace. Is this your plan, human? To shame us? No, Jace said. To open your eyes. She stood still, the knife in her hand began to shake, not from fear, but from something deeper. Conflict, doubt, memory. She took a deep breath. If I let you live, the High Council will call me weak. If you kill me, Jace said, you'll never stop wondering if I was right. The silence was now heavy. The crowd waited. The arena, once filled with blood and cheers, was now filled with thought. Then, slowly, Threxia stepped back. She dropped the knife. The blade hit the ground with a quiet clink. Opt! But it sounded louder than any roar. Gasps echoed from the crowd. The council above stood up in surprise. You win, human, Threxia said softly. Not with strength, but with truth. Kalani smiled in relief. She tapped her device again, opening a secure channel to her allies. The general has seen. The light begin phase 2. Jace exhaled and dropped to one knee, exhausted. But he smiled again. Told you, he whispered. We're good at the impossible. The arena was silent. No cheering, no shouting, only the sound of the wind moving across the ancient stone walls. The venomous blade lay at Threxia's feet, untouched. The act of lowering her weapon shocked every Serpentari in the crowd. In their world, this was rare. It wasn't surrender. It was a pause. A choice commander, Jace Wren, slowly stood up, brushing the dust off his arms. His legs felt weak, but his spirit was strong. He looked at Threxia and gave her a respectful nod.
Thank you, he said simply.
Threxia didn't answer right away. He was still staring at the large holographic screen behind them. The one showing all the hidden messages and secrets of the Conclave. It was proof, kind her people could not ignore. Above them, the council members were in a panic. They whispered fast, their voices rising behind the glass of their high chamber. Stop the transmission. Destroy the evidence. End the trial now. The people weren't listening to the council anymore. Their eyes were on Threxia and Jace, two warriors, once enemies, now something different. High above, Kailani watched closely from her hidden position. She had risked everything by helping the human. If she was caught, she'd lose her rank, her home, maybe her life. But she believed in something bigger. Truth. Her hands moved quickly over her device. She was already sending the data to other worlds. Soon, the truth would be everywhere, and the Conclave could not stop it. Back in the arena, Threxia turned to Jace. I did not expect this. You came here with no weapon, no army, just ... ideas. Jace smiled softly.
Sometimes.
That's all we have, and sometimes it's enough. Your kind has courage, but is that enough to lead? We don't want to lead, Jace said. We just want to be treated fairly, equally. She nodded slowly. Then her voice became firmer. We must leave the arena. Council will try to silence this. Before Jace could answer, a loud alarm rang out, warning, intrusion detected. Security lockdown in progress. Large metal gates began to close around the arena. Serpentari guards, dressed in black armor, rushed in from every side. Kailani gasped. The council had activated Plan Delta, a full arena lockdown. It meant they were going to erase everything, the evidence, the witnesses, and even Jace and Threxia if needed. She spoke into her communicator. Jace, they're coming for you. They want to erase everything. Jace looked around and saw the guards surrounding them. They're not going to let this truth go public, he said. Threxia stepped in front of him, spreading her arms. They will not harm you while I stand. Jace looked at her in surprise. You'd defend a human? Threxia gave a small smile. No, I defend what is right. The guards approached fast. Their leader raised a shock baton. Step aside, General. That human is now a threat to the Conclave. But Threxia did not move. You speak of honor, yet you serve fear. The guard hesitated. Others looked at each other. Even soldiers could feel doubt. That's when Kailani's next move changed everything. She activated the arena core, causing the entire platform to shake. Holograms of truth, the hidden files, messages, and battles were now displayed in the sky above the arena for everyone to see. Not just Serpentari, but all nearby systems. The crowd gasped as the lies of the Conclave played out in front of them like a story from the stars. A young Serpentari soldier dropped his weapon. My family died in that colony. He told us it was an accident. More guards froze. Some stepped back. A few even walked away. The leader shouted again, this time with panic in his voice. You will regret this betrayal. Threxia's voice rang out like a blade through silence. No, I regret not seeing the truth sooner. She turned to Jace. We must leave. You are now the key to everything. Kalani sent them a path through the underground tunnels. Beneath the arena, an old escape route once used during emergencies. And Threxia ran side by side, their steps echoing through the stone passageways. The ground shook as security bots searched the upper levels, but they kept moving forward. Jace looked at Threxia while they ran. So, are we friends now? Threxia raised an eyebrow. Let's survive first. Then we can decide. Jace laughed. Fair enough. After a long sprint, they reached a secret chamber. Small transport ship waited, left there long ago for emergency flights. Kailani met them at the entrance, holding her device. The data has reached for planets already, she said. They'll spread the truth further. Threxia looked at her with respect. You are brave, Kailani. Kailani smiled shyly. I learned from the human. They climbed into the ship as the engines warmed up. The arena lights behind them began to dim, not because of power loss, but because the people inside were no longer shouting for war. They were thinking they were changing. As the ship lifted off, Jace looked down at the arena, the place where everything had started. Threxia sat beside him, her eyes on the stars. This isn't the end, she said. The council will strike back, I know, Jace said. But this time, we're not alone. The transport ship glided through the quiet space, leaving the Serpentori warworld far behind. Inside, a soft hum filled the cabin. Mixing with the steady beeping of the ship's systems, Commander Jace Wren sat near a round table, holding a cup of hot mineral tea. Across from him, General Threxia sat silently, her sharp golden eyes fixed on the stars. Next to her, Kailani worked on a console, checking transmission updates. The ship wasn't built for comfort, but it was fast and quiet, perfect for escape. Jace's muscles ached. The poison from Threxia's earlier scratch had slowed him down, though it was not a deep wound. The venom still burned through his veins. He hid his pain, not wanting the others to worry. Kailani looked up and noticed the sweat on his forehead. Your face is pale, she said. The venom is still in your system. Jace nodded slowly. It's manageable for now. Threxia stood up and walked over. She looked at his injury carefully. Should have said something earlier, she said. I figured talking about it wouldn't help much. Jace replied with a weak smile. Kailani reached for a small medical kit and handed Threxia a vial. This should slow the spread, she said. It's not a full cure, but it will buy us time. Threxia carefully injected the serum into Jace's arm. Her touch was strong, but careful. It surprised Jace how gentle a Serpentori warrior could be when not holding a blade. You risked your life for us, she said. We'll protect yours. Jace looked up at her. Funny, a few hours ago you nearly killed me. Threxia didn't smile, but her eyes softened. A few hours ago, I didn't understand. As the ship moved further into space, Kailani received a signal from the outer colonies. The truth is spreading, she announced. Many Serpentari soldiers are beginning to question the council. Some have even started small protests. Threxia listened carefully. That is only the beginning. The council will try to stop them. They will use fear. Jace leaned back in his chair. Then we give them hope. Kailani nodded. Need to show them more than words. Need proof that humans and Serpentari can stand together. How? Threxia asked. Jake thought for a moment, then said, There's a place, eh? Neutral outposts in the Harka system. It's controlled by a mix of species, not loyal to the Conclave. If we go there and speak, maybe more will listen. Threxia considered it. Harka is risky. Many spies move through there. That's why it works, Jace said. We can share the message in Harka. It will spread across every system. She nodded. Then we go. Hours later, the ship dropped out of lightspeed near Harka. Station a large spinning structure floating above a blue and gold gas giant. Small ships moved in and out of docking rings like ants. The station was full of life. Aliens of many kinds walked its metal corridors. Traders, scientists, outlaws, and travelers. It was a place where news moved faster than any ship. As they stepped out of the transport ship, Jace wore a long cloak to hide his face. His body still ached from the venom, but he walked with purpose. Phyrexia and Kailani walked beside him. Some station visitors gave them strange looks. Serpentari and human walking together was rare. Most assumed the human was a prisoner. They entered the lower dome, a place where speeches, trade deals, and public debates were held. Kailani connected her device to the central projector and began. Setting up their message, Jace stood at the center and waited. Slowly, aliens began to gather. Some came out of curiosity, others to see what strange event was happening. Phyrexia stepped forward first. I am General Phyrexia of the Serpentori. I once believed humans were weak. I was wrong. The crowd murmured. This human showed me truth. Our leaders have used lies to control us. They sent us to fight wars we never started. No more. She stepped aside. Jace took her place. My name is Jace Wren. I don't ask for power. I ask for peace, for respect, for a future where truth is not punished. He paused. The conclave will say, I am a danger, that I twist minds. But I say listen to your own hearts. You already know what is right. The screen behind them played the messages again, the hidden orders, the false reports, the proof of betrayal. The crowd grew larger. Some clapped, others whispered, a few shouted in support. Let the truth be free. No more silence. The message was working, but danger was not far behind. From the shadows of the upper dome, a cloaked figure watched the event. He spoke. Softly into a communicator, they've reached Harka. The human is spreading rebellion. The voice on the other end replied coldly. Then it's time to end it. Begin phase 2. The figure nodded. Understood. He disappeared into the crowd. Back in the lower dome, Kailani noticed something strange on her scanner. Someone is blocking the signal, she warned. Jace turned sharply. Trouble? Think they're trying to shut the system down. Before anyone could react, the lights in the dome flickered. The screen went dark. The panic began to grow. Then a voice echoed through the hall, deep and metallic. You've said enough, human. Guards in dark armor entered from both sides of the hall. They moved fast, weapons raised. Phyrexia stepped in front of Jace again. You will not take him. The guard leader pointed. Stand down, General, or you will fall with him. Jace looked at Phyrexia. We can't win in a fight, not here. Then what do we do? She asked. He smirked even through the pain. To give them one more message they'll never forget. The guards of the conclave marched forward, black armor shining under the dome lights. Their weapons were pointed straight at Commander Jace Wren, and the order was clear. Silence him at any cost. The crowd inside Harka's lower dome backed away. In fear, some tried to leave. Others stayed still, watching with wide eyes. Tension filled the air like smoke before a storm. Jace stood tall beside General Phyrexia and Kailani. Even though the poison still slowed his limbs, he could feel the pain pulsing through his veins. But he refused to show weakness. The lead guard, taller than the others and with a voice full of command, spoke once more. You are charged with spreading false information, human. Surrender. Now. Jace looked at the crowd. Then he looked back at the guard. The only false thing here is your loyalty to fear, he said clearly. The people have seen the truth. They will not forget it. The guard took one step forward. His weapon glowed, ready to fire. But before anything happened, Phyrexia stepped in front of Jace, blocking the shot with her body. Her tail flicked once behind her as a warning. He will not be touched, she said coldly. General, this is treason, the guard said. Stand aside. No, she said. I choose truth. The words struck the air like lightning. The guard hesitated. Around him, some soldiers lowered their weapons just slightly. Whispers moved through their ranks. The general stands with the human. She saw the messages. Is the council lying to us? Jace looked at the faces of the soldiers. Some looked unsure. Others looked lost. He knew this was the moment. It's the one chance. He stepped forward and raised his voice so everyone could hear. You were told we were enemies. But here we are, side by side. A human, a Serpentari general, and a scientist. We're not fighting. We're standing together. Kailani connected her small device to a backup port. Within seconds, the large screen behind them came alive. Again, this time showing images of unity. Humans shaking hands with an alien. Serpentari rebels helping injured civilians. Messages of peace and freedom. The crowd stared in silence. This is not war, Jace said. This is a new beginning, the lead guard shouted. Enough. He raised his weapon again. But this time, another Serpentari soldier stepped in front of him. A young warrior, armor slightly cracked, eyes full of thought. We follow truth, she said quietly, not blind orders. The lead guard looked around. More soldiers stepped away from him. One by one. They lowered their weapons. The balance had shifted. The crowd began to cheer softly, not loud like a sports match, but hopeful, like the first sound of spring after winter. Phyrexia looked at Jace. You did it. He shook his head. We did it. As the soldier stepped back, Kailani finished her upload. The entire speech, the images, and the reactions were now being broadcast across all systems connected to Harka. The truth could no longer be hidden, but danger was not. Gon got Kailani's screen flashed red. A warning. They've activated orbital drones, she said. The council plans to strike the station from above. Phryxia's eyes narrowed. They mean to destroy everything. Jace turned to her. Can we stop the drones? She shook her head. Not from here. Kailani looked up. There's one chance. The old command center. It's deep inside Harka's core. We can override the drones from there. Then let's go, Jace said. The three of them, along with a small group of now friendly soldiers, raced down the side corridors of the station. They passed confused travelers, blinking lights, and old control panels covered in dust. The old command center hadn't been used in years. It was built before the Conclave took over. That was why it was perfect off their systems, unconnected and forgotten. Inside, it smelled of metal and old wiring. Kailani worked quickly, hands flying over the control board. I found them. 3 drones already charging weapons, she said. How long do we have? Jace asked. Less than 5 minutes? Jace looked at Phyrexia. I'll help her. Can you hold the door? Phyrexia gave a single nod. They won't get past me. She stepped out into the hallway just as more armored guards arrived, loyal ones, not swayed by truth. She stood firm, her blade in hand. This time, not to kill, but to protect. You will not interrupt history, she told them. Inside the control room, Kailani handed Jace a power module. Insert this there, left side. He moved fast, locking it into place. Sparks flew. The lights blinked. Now, IT. Shouted J. Asiya slammed his hand on the override button. On the screen, the drones froze. Then one by one they powered down. Kailani sighed in relief. We did it. Phyrexia entered moments later, breathing hard but untouched. The path is clear. They've seen we are not enemies. Jace leaned against the wall. The poison still burned inside him, but it didn't matter now. They had stopped the attack. They had changed something big back in the lower dome. The crowd cheered as the news spread. The drones were disarmed, the humans survived, and a Serpentari general stood beside him. For the first time, hope moved faster than fear. On a distant planet, a young child watched the transmission. Is that a human? She asked her father. Yes, he said, smiling, and a brave one. The light of distant stars shimmered softly through the ship's viewport as Commander Jace Wren, General Phyrexia, and Kailani prepared for what might be their final journey together. The battle for truth had only just begun, but their victory at Harka Station had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Jason sat quietly, feeling the poison still slowly leave his body. The pain had dulled, replaced by a calm determination. He looked over at Threxia, who was cleaning her blade knot as a weapon now. But as a symbol of honor, she caught his gaze and raised an eyebrow, still smirking, human. Jace grinned. I told you, we're good at impossible. She smiled back, warm and genuine. The first time he had seen her soften, the broadcast from Harka Station continued to spread, reaching distant planets, alien councils, and even the secretive chambers of the Conclave itself. Their hidden lies were no longer secrets. The galaxy was awakening to a new truth, that humans were not weak, but courageous. Not simple, but complex. It's not enemies, but allies. Messages poured in. Some species offered support. Others questioned their own governments. Rumors of rebellion and reform echoed in spaceports and homes across countless worlds. On board the ship, Kalani reviewed the incoming transmissions. The galaxy is listening, she said. Some call this a turning point. Threxia nodded. But there are still dangers. The Conclave will try to stop us. Jace leaned forward, eyes sharp, and we keep moving forward. We build trust. One step at a time. Kailani smiled. There's a neutral planet, Alara. It hosts diplomats from many worlds. If we can reach them, maybe we can form a new alliance. Threxia's tail flicked with interest. Then Alara, it is. There. Ship changed course and slipped through the silent darkness of space. The journey was quiet, each lost in thought. Jace looked at the stars and thought of Earth, his home where people fought for freedom not with hate, but with hope. He remembered the moments that had brought him here, the capture, the duel, the venomous blade, the words that changed everything, the simple smirk that started a revolution when they arrived at Alara. The spaceport was calm, but filled with life. Aliens of many shapes and sizes walked among the shining towers and floating gardens at the diplomatic hall. Representatives from dozens of species gathered. News of Harka had reached them, and curiosity filled the air. Jace stood before the assembly, flanked by Threxia and Kailani. He took a deep breath. I come not as a conqueror, but as a messenger. He spoke of truth, of courage, and of the need for unity. He told the story of the duel, how honor and respect had bridged worlds. The assembly listened, some skeptical, others hopeful. But then, a young alien diplomat rose. We have heard too many lies before. How do we know this is not another trick? Jace smiled. Because we have nothing to gain but peace, and because our actions match our words. Threxia stepped forward. I was once blinded by pride and loyalty to lies. Now I stand with those who seek truth. Her words echoed through the hall. Over the following days, discussions turned into agreements. Alara became a symbol, a place where old enemies could speak and new friends could be made. News spread. The Conclave's power weakened as more worlds questioned their leaders. Back on the ship, Jace looked out at the stars again. Threxia joined him, her expression thoughtful. What now? She asked. Now, Jace said with a confident smile. We build a future where no one fears the unknown. Where humans and aliens walk side by side, not as enemies, but as partners. Is nodded. I never believed in your kind before, but now I do. That's all any of us need, Jace said softly. A chance. They stood together, watching the stars twinkle small lights in the endless night. Months later, on Earth, a young girl looked up at the night sky. Her father pointed to a bright star. That's where heroes are born, he said. Humans really change the stars? She asked. Yes, he smiled. Sometimes all it takes is one smirk.